Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Suhail Patel, and today I'm going to be discussing the CSR program and DPD CSR program. Firstly, I'll start off by discussing what CSR actually is, and then I'll move on to DPD and the CSR program. So, what is CSR? CSR is a corporation's initiatives to access and take responsibility for the company's obviously effects and environmental and social well-being. The term obviously generally applies to the efforts that go beyond and what may be required by regulators or environmental potential groups. So what are CSR's actual aims? So obviously CSR aim to ensure that companies obviously conduct business in an ethical, social and conduct an environmental way. And that's obviously taking into consideration human rights. It can involve in a range of activities. Obviously, firstly, working in partnership with local communities, social responsible investment, developing a relationship with employees and customers, and environmental protection and sustainability. Some businesses obviously have their main purposes of fulfillment of their social environmental goals, whereas some obviously have financial goals and minimizing very negative impact on the safety and environment. These businesses are obviously called social enterprises. So why is CSR actually important to organizations? Obviously there's been an increased number of demands from employees, customers, government bodies, for companies and businesses to actually have a CSR program, and obviously that helps them reach out and maintain acceptable standards in their business practice. For employers, obviously CSR is seen as a more competitive way, and it gives them an advantage as well to protect and raise brand awareness, and obviously build trust with customers and employees. Just a few facts and figures about what people's views are on CSR. Here it is, it says 2/3 of CSOs and 3/4 of investment professionals actually agree that environmental, social, governance activities do create value for their shareholders in a normal economic times. However, they don't agree on the point that it's seen as more of an investment for professionals rather than, obviously, it's not seen as a respondent, and they don't know what the effect is if any activities are held in the shareholders' value. Corporate social responsibility professionals themselves obviously appear to be most unsure about putting a number of on the value added by environmental, social and governance activities, with more than half of them actually reporting that the activities they don't know what their activities have an effect on the programs of the value creation. Obviously these opinions are estimates and roughly similar to those of the CFOs. The lack of certainty may reflect a tendency amongst corporate social responsibility benefits of their programs and rather than financial value. So why should companies actually join the CSR program? Here are actually a few points as to why companies should join. Firstly, innovation, cost saving, brand differentiation, customer engagement and employee engagement. I'm going to elaborate on these points slightly. Firstly, starting with innovation. Obviously, yes, we know innovation is used a term that's used quite a lot. But obviously, even though it's an overused term, just typing in the word, for example, Amazon into Google gives you over 150,000 items. Without sustainability, obviously the company's reason to develop efforts possibly wouldn't lead to such a product. Cost savings. One of the easiest ways for a company to start engaging, obviously, with sustainability is to use it in a way to cut costs. Whether it's by using less packaging, or whether, for example, DPD, for example, obviously reduced its energy savings by 20% in 2015, which obviously helped them enable to reduce costs. Moving on, brand differentiation. Yes, in the past, brand differentiation was obviously a term that was used quite a bit, and people have adapted it quite a bit into the CSR program. However, companies such as DPD were able to find and incorporate companies' values into their business model. However, a CSR program obviously becomes more common and you use it to differentiate your brand. For example, the Cola Wars. Coca-Cola and Pepsi have been going at it for many years, and obviously they both use similar CSR programs. For example, the zero use of water, for example, they both use it, and both the companies obviously try to differentiate the brand. However, because they're similar businesses, they are unable to differentiate it and do have similar CSR programs. Long-term thinking. Now, a lot of the time, obviously, companies have to think about what they want to do in the future. Now, 10 years down the line, what are their future plans? How are they going to make profits? And how will they develop the business? Customer engagement. Using CSR can obviously help you engage with your customers in new ways. It can be used with something which hasn't actually been used in recent years. If you engage with your customers, you'll be able to know exactly what customers want and what you need to do to your business. Finally, employee engagement. It's on a similar lines to customer engagement. Obviously, employees should have the ability to know what you're doing as a business. They should be given an insight into what the business is about, so they can obviously commit more to the business. Moving on, obviously, now let's go on to about CSR assessment. What is CSR assessment? CSR assessment is actually an evaluation of how well the company has shown the principles of CSR into their businesses. This is the first step of actually monitoring the company's process. This obviously helps them get a clear picture of their CSR practices such as environmental, social, ethical and supply chain. This will obviously help the company understand how well they are positioned, and it will obviously help commit to them. It will obviously help them commit to stakeholders. There's quite a few steps to actually how to gather CSR assessment and analyze and examine relevant company services and product activities. A basic outline of actually how to outline of how it works would be: firstly, assemble a CSR leadership team. Secondly, develop a working definition of CSR. Thirdly, identify legal requirements. Fourthly, review corporate documents, process and activities, and identify and engage with key stakeholders. Now, a bit about the company that I'm actually going to be talking about, DPD. Now, what does DPD actually stand for? DPD obviously stands for Dynamic Parcel Distribution, known by its short acronym of DPD. Now, DPD is an international parcel service which is actually owned by Geopost. It has more than 830 depots in more than 40 countries and is one of Europe's leading business-to-business parcel delivery services. The company was founded in West Germany. In the first years of its operation, it had over 1.4 million parcels which were shipped. By 1980, the figures had raised to 7 million parcels delivered in the year. Today, 4 million parcels are shipped every day by DPD. DPD was originally known as Dispatch until 2008, where the German parcel service was obviously named again as Dynamic Parcel Distribution. DPD is majority owned by Geopost and obviously has a subsidiary share by La Poste, which is a France postal service. Geopost bought the UK parcel line out in 2001 for $277 million, and parcel line was then rebranded as DPD in 2008. Obviously, it's gradually increasing its internationality and its brand by building up the name of DPD, and it's mostly present in all European countries as of now. Just a few facts and figures about DPD. Like I mentioned before, it was bought out by Geopost bought out parcel line in 2008 for $277 million. DPD is the number 2 delivery service across in the network in Europe. They deliver 4 million parcels every day. They operate in 800 country locations in Europe, and it ships over 230 countries. It employs 30,000 people and has 39,000 delivery vehicles serving 300,000 customers across Europe. And it also has 28,000 pickup points across Europe. Now, the shareholders of the company in Geopost, like I said, is owned subsidiary by France's La Poste. La Poste is obviously a group that's ranked number 223 in the Fortune Global and 500 in Europe's number 2 postal operator. The group is ranked 5th in the world in Fortune's mail and package, freight and delivery sector. Obviously, in the last 10 years, just to talk about the DPD market shares and goals. In the last 10 years, DPD has grown to become the number 2 European parcels market. It has a 20% share in the B2C market and a 12% share in the B2B market. DPD and its sister parcel brands are the market leaders in France, Spain and the Baltics, whilst it is in the top 3 in Germany, the Czech Republic, UK, Poland, the Netherlands and Austria. Obviously, DPD is currently worth £1 billion and aims to make this 2.2 billion by 2025, which is just UK figures. However, they are worth 6.2 billion euros revenue worldwide. Moving on swiftly, I'd like to obviously start discussing DPD's CSR program. Obviously, the CSR program is actually called Driving Change, and it's a commitment to corporate social responsibility, and they are committed to to the parcels they obviously deliver, and they have 4 ways to do this. Looking at it, they have the carbon neutral commitment, they have the smart urban delivery, they have closer communities, and innovative entrepreneurship. Obviously, DPD want to focus on these matters to make direct positive impact with these 4 solutions. Obviously, they believe this brings them closer to their customers and other stakeholders that are involved in the business, such as the employers and suppliers. This allows them to obviously drive a positive change, and it obviously allows them to evolve as a business. And I think these are the main 4 solutions that they are focusing on in order to have a change and a positive impact in the business. Moving on to obviously elaborate on DPD CSR program and the Driving Change program. Firstly, I'd like to discuss the carbon neutral commitment that DPD have obviously spoke about. DPD's group commitment is to make every parcel delivered a carbon neutral at no extra cost to their customers. They do that by measuring our CO2 emissions. They're striving and reducing them by offsetting the remaining emissions, and the DPD group have targeted itself to reduce road transport CO2 emissions by 10% per parcel by 2020, which was compared to the levels of 2013. How do they do it? By improving the efficiency of transport network and by tour optimization, by obviously offering services like pick-up and drop-off, predicting time, by increasing the use of alternative fuel vehicles. The DPD group is actually committed to make every parcel delivered carbon neutral. They believe in being a responsible service to the customers and the suppliers and communities, obviously, whom they work closely with. They ensure the carbon neutral commitment by measuring CO2 emissions, by striving to reduce them, and by obviously offering to help reduce them. They obviously have several innovative delivery solutions like Predict and Pickup. The Predict service is obviously something where they give you an hour slot of where the delivery will be sent. Now, if you're not available in that hour slot, you can obviously turn around and reschedule the time, or you can obviously have a pickup point where you want to pick it up from. That's something that DPD have offered to the customers. Obviously, it reduces carbon neutral and obviously helps reduce CO2 emissions. In 2016, the DPD group delivered 1.77 billion carbon neutral parcels. More than 6.2 million kilometers were traveled by the DPD group's alternatives energy fleet, and almost more than 863,000 tons of CO2 were offset. In 2016, they achieved the 22 carbon efficiency target, which obviously was a reduction of 10.1% of CO2 emissions per parcel. Smart urban delivery is the second part that we're going to talk about. Now, over 74% of Europe's population live in a city. Now, delivering to more and more people every day, obviously DPD is aware of the impact that it has on urban populations and communities, obviously, and they have a solution for that to obviously make people's lives easier. The commitment to smart urban delivery is obviously to give consumers greater delivery choices, making delivery simpler and more convenient to their success and having first-hand delivery success. Obviously, the actions to this field is obviously having less particular matters in cities, less traffic, and less time wasted by customers waiting for their parcels. How do DPD obviously do that? They measure the environmental impact of the logistic platforms and the vehicle centres in every city. They develop an innovative delivery service like Predict, increasing first-time delivery success, and they offer customers the choice of flexibility. Now, they do offer the choice for you to choose when you want your parcel delivered and what date and what time you want it to be delivered. So that obviously allows them time as a company to give the parcel at that time, rather than obviously being very awkward with the times that they come. And obviously it works around their busy schedules and your busy schedules too. The third one is obviously innovative entrepreneurship. Now, innovative entrepreneurship is obviously that DPD obviously have employees. However, what a lot of people don't know, these employees are actually self-employed. Now, they do work on their behalf. Now, obviously, the DPD obviously apply the training. The employees are trained, and they do offer employees obviously a better career, and they do want them to be their own bosses, which is why they have an innovative entrepreneurship. Rather than working for the company, they're working for themselves, and they're just franchising of DPD. Now, how do they do that? They offer obviously everyone training before they start. Now, every DPD worker and every person that drives a van gets training. However, they obviously do franchise from the company, they do pay rent towards the company for the van and the name that's borrowed. Now, they obviously have annual quality awards that simulate innovation by highlighting remarkable local projects fulfilling as the sustainable development objectives. Now, they obviously support and believe, which is a selective global community of business owners and entrepreneurs worldwide. Now, all DPD workers, obviously, they want DPD workers to be committed. However, they do want them to be their own bosses at the same time. Finally, obviously, closer communities. Now, as a delivery company, DPD do want the opportunity to be closer with the customers, and they do want to have a long-lasting relationship with their customers. The ambitions, obviously, to make a positive contribution to the community that they are closest to. How do they do it? Their actions translate into free deliveries, employee volunteering, and fundraising, and a lot more. Each business unit has developed the most meaningful initiative, relevant and its own ecosystem. In Ireland, DPD works with an Irish Wheelchair Association. It's supporting the annual Angels campaign, transporting the IWA Angels collateral throughout the country. Now, obviously, we can see that they do obviously work with a lot of charities, and they do offer free delivery services, which will obviously allow them to be closer to communities. So, how do DPD actually link to the Carroll's pyramid? Firstly, talking about the ethical responsibilities. Obviously, they have ethical initiatives as a code of conduct from the business. They adhere to fair competition practices. They are ensuring ethical communities, and they're working against corruption. Now, these points obviously help the business against ethical responsibilities to make sure there's no corruption going on within the business, and every staff is obviously working in the right way. Philanthropic responsibilities. Obviously, like I explained before, the company actually works with charities. Now, they do work with charities at the Association of Wales, which the Ireland DPD part work for, and they do provide to charities as a group. They obviously have customers that do obviously, they do have staff that support obviously by offering free parcels and etc. Legal responsibilities. Now, as a company, they have a legal responsibility to make sure that they aren't obviously delivering the service, which is obviously a service that they're providing. However, they don't really have a legal responsibility as a company, as mentioned, because they are self-employed. The only legal responsibility you could say they have is ensuring that all staff pay the tax. Economic responsibilities, again, I wouldn't say that the company have any economic responsibilities, as it is a franchise and each person that works for the company is self-employed. The only thing that you could say is be profitable by charging each employee that they have. Now, linking DPD into the stakeholder theory. Just to define what stakeholder theory actually is. The stakeholder theory is a theory that organizational management businesses ethics that addresses morals and values which are managed in an organization. Now, how does the stakeholder theory affect the customers of DPD? Obviously, DPD deliver parcels to customers with carbon neutral at no extra cost. They also offer customers with greater delivery choices while helping the community to tackle traffic congestion. How does it affect the employees? DPD encourage innovation inside and outside of the business. This goal is obviously achieved on the base of entrepreneurship, support to local partner companies, and employee training. Some of the pros and cons of DPD CSR program. Firstly, starting with the pros, a proper corporate social responsibility can provide DPD with a large amount of value and extra profitability. CSR has improved DPD's overall cost and structures. A correct CSR obviously can provide DPD with wholesome customer relations and opportunities that help projects and the business in a very positive light. CSR obviously can help with brownie points, making it easier for DPD to use the business consumers which are very serious about companies and environmental friendly. The cons of obviously the CSR program, the consumers are becoming aware about the companies obviously such as DPD are using the CSR program as a ploy rather than actually being environmental friendly. CSR has a major effect on DPD's image within the market, which can affect their trust and relationship with its consumers. and CSR programs are very costly, which without warning obviously can affect the budgets and pressure. A few recommendations that I can obviously make for DPD CSR program would obviously be to achieve increased cooperation between departments and in the business, obviously engage in the use of social investment budget, look at the long-term objectives and aims, specify the activities of stakeholders and engagement, ensure the existence of CSR skills in all employees, and have a review system to improve the quality of CSR. Now, elaborating on the bottom point, obviously the review system of CSR wasn't included in the DPD program. Now, DPD only started a report from 2016. However, before they didn't have a review program, so obviously that's a recommendation you can make to have a review program every year to obviously help. Obviously, that links back to the point where it obviously has the existence of CSR skills in employees. If employees obviously have the ability to know what the business's CSR skills are, then they will be able to obviously help the company a lot more and will know a lot more about the company. And they do obviously need to look at the long-term objectives and aims of the company to make it more profitable and to make the company obviously progress further and obviously have it in more countries. Finally, to obviously evaluate DPD CSR program, they obviously had an auditing, which was an internal audit which was used by DPD to evaluate the CSR program as a whole to determine whether the organisation had an adequate control over CSR objectives. There are many approaches to the auditing CSR, such as audits to the CSR programs. Obviously, the consulting was one as well. An internal audit was activity resulted in implementation and product design for the existing CSR program, and reports leading to the CSR advisor on risk management, governance, and internal controls. Here are the references that I used for the information that I gathered. Hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you for listening. Thank you.